Welcome into the Phoenix Sports Podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. I'm your host, Makayla Perkins, and joining me today is Johnny Venerable, Greg Esposito, and Craig Morgan. And today is a super exciting episode because we have not one, but two newcomers to the Phoenix Sports Podcast. Johnny and Craig, it is both your first time on the pod. Are you guys excited?
Super excited. Thanks for having us.
Is there some sort of initiation that's coming?
Yes. Our producer Aaron has a vaught of goat blood for you to drink.
Wow, right.
So we're gonna go ahead and.
I love this
specific.
It's like Makayla's gone through that before or something.
I wasn't a sorority, so I mean, like, it's kind of like a cult.
There you go.
No, I had to get
That's
initiated. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I'm super excited to have you on the podcast for the first time. As always, we are going to start today's pod with the Valley Sports temperature check, which I feel is going to be a little sad. Last week was a little rough in Arizona sports landscape, but hopefully we're on the uptick. The Suns, they won last night against the Pelicans. DeAndre Ayton, however, did not play. Espo, do you have an update for us?
They're at 500. I mean, woo! DeAndre Ayton didn't play last night. They made it sound like it was day to day. A basically deep bruise is what it comes down to. They hit knees the other night, DeAndre, in the game against the Cavs. So no official update from today. Practice is actually going on as we speak. Hoping to hear more from Gerald Bourguet about that here soon. But yeah, I probably wouldn't expect him tomorrow night since they sat him out. And with Frank Kaminsky, yeah, this is the weirdest thing to say. It sounds even weirder coming out of my mouth. But with Frank Kaminsky playing so well, yeah, you could go another game without DA and hopefully, kind of stem the tide. Frank was spectacular last night.
Yeah,
we partied in Kaminsky Cove on the post game show. So we'll see how DA is playing it for the team overall. Lukewarm is the temperature right now. It's there's the hangover effect, I guess, that's going on. Right
Lukewarm
now.
must be nice.
Yeah.
Well, I've been in freezing cold too. So.
Yes, you have for a decade.
Yes.
I guess going from the middle of a temperature gauge to the complete freezing cold side, the Coyotes are still winless. It's not looking great, Craig. What is going on?
They are one loss short of the franchise record for winless streak to start a season. They're at 10 right now. 11 was back in 2017-18. Rick Tockett's first season as coach. That was a much better team than this team. So things are not looking good. You're right. They just found out that Connor Timmins is going to be out for the rest of the season. So one of their promising defensive prospects will not play again this year. That stings. Nick Schmaltz is probably out another month. So one of their few scoring options is out. They do have some winnable games coming up on the schedule in terms of the quality of competition. They've got Anaheim on Friday in Anaheim.
Okay.
They come home and play the expansion Seattle Kraken, and the Coyotes feel like an expansion team themselves. But those are opportunities where they could break the string before they move into rarefied air. The league record is 15 games to start a season winless, set by the 1943-44 New York Rangers. No other team has exceeded 11. The Coyotes are getting close, so yeah, it's fair to say they are freezing cold right now.
But the tie doesn't count. It's just winless.
Winless, yeah. That's how you have to term it in the NHL's funky, whatever it is they're doing. It's cosmetics to make them look better in the standings. You can say you're above 500 if you've won 34, lost 33, and lost 11 in overtime.
So I'll say it. There's corpses with warmer temperatures than the Coyotes right
absolutely.
now. All right.
Ouch. Between Anaheim and Seattle, which game do you have them winning?
I'm calling the win against Seattle. At home, they'll come home and beat the expansion team, and they'll tie the record, but they won't break it.
All right. Craig, my question for you is, was this certainly not expected, but did you feel like they could get off to a start like this?
Yeah, I don't know that anybody expects records to be broken in terms of winless streaks, but yeah, listen, everyone knew this was a rebuilding season. Everybody saw what they did with their roster. They stripped it down to the studs. The coaches and the players are not trying to lose, but as a franchise, they're trying to lose. I mean, this is a roster that's constructed to win 17 to 20 games in a season. They want to be at the bottom of the standings to maximize their potential to get the number 1 overall pick, which would lead to franchise center Shane Wright. We know what kind of luck the Coyotes have had in the lottery, but at least, you're assuring yourself of a very high pick in what is expected to be one of the 3 best drafts of this millennium. So
it's a good time to have a lot of draft picks.
yes, they have 8 of them in the first 2 rounds.
Well, speaking of losses, it took 8 weeks, but the Arizona Cardinals finally lost their first game of the season on Thursday Night Football against the Packers. It was a great game.
Yeah.
Unfortunate ending. AJ Green, you got to turn around, friend. You got to turn around.
Get your head around.
Johnny, what do you think the Cardinals took away from that loss?
Well, I think they were outplayed in nearly every facet of that game. No singular unit played up to their capability. So it was a general consensus. That was a team loss. It wasn't only because of AJ Green's miscue. I think leading up to that game with the JJ Watt announcement that he would potentially be out for the season, everything that went into the weeks preceding that with the COVID outbreak and Cliff's in and out of the coaching lineup, I just think they were emotionally spent. And I give them credit on a quick week against Aaron Rodgers. I know they were missing, umpteenth amount of starters, including Devontae Adams. I thought the Cardinals responded well in the second half, specifically putting together that drive that started on their 1 to almost win the game. So I'm not buying too much into the loss. I mean, the Packers are going to be in it to the end of the season. They could be the number 1 seed. But I think the bigger takeaway is now Kyler Murray may not play this weekend.
Right.
If I was a betting man, which I am, I would say that Colt McCoy is going to get the start this weekend against San Francisco.
Ouch.
I think it's still a very winnable game. But anytime you're talking about your Pro Bowl franchise quarterback potentially missing 1 or multiple weeks, doing a nagging injury on his lower body, and his game is predicated on not so much running anymore, but his elusiveness. That's a little bit concerning, especially, they've built up credibility and collateral by starting 7-1. That can't be dismissed. But when we talk about their pursuit, let's say for a division championship or having a 1 or a 2 seed in the postseason, you have to continue to stack wins throughout the rest of the season. And if you're playing Colt McCoy, which again, I think he's going to play well Sunday if he starts, upwards of 3 or 4 weeks in a row, that could lead to a string of losses that I don't know if this team's prepared for it. You remove Watt from this lineup emotionally, what toll is that going to take? You just hope that with Kyler, if he does miss a game, it's only for this week. He can come back next week at home against Carolina. I would say the temperature check right now is still pretty warm. I don't want to overreact, and Kirsten and I talked about this on the pod the other day. We've been able to stew on this loss for longer because it was a Thursday night game and it was nationally televised. And so had this been a typical Sunday loss, I think most of us would have moved on by now. But because it was their first one, because of everything with Watt, it just feels a little bit different.
Speaking of temperature checks, any concern around the facility that the last team they played was the Green Bay Packers, and now Aaron Rodgers is out with COVID?
You know what my initial reaction was? Did the Cardinals give Rodgers COVID because of their outbreak?
Gotcha.
That's probably backwards because the Cardinals outbreak took place 2 weeks prior against the Cleveland Browns, and then they were pretty much healthy against the Houston Texans. But that is concerning, considering he's like breathing on everybody, and he's interacting with Kyler Murray in the post game. They're shaking hands, but the COVID disease itself is so dicey in terms of how you can contract it. And the Cardinals test every day and they take it seriously. Unlike Aaron Rodgers, they're 100% vaccinated. So we'll see if that helps. But no, my initial thought was, did the Cardinals give Aaron Rodgers COVID after that game?
And couldn't they have done it on Wednesday previous to the Thursday game?
You know it.
No.
I do have one more question for you. Big trade went down for before the deadline.
Yeah.
The division rivals, the Los Angeles Rams, acquired Von Miller from the Broncos. Don't even want to talk about it, but I have to. Are you concerned at all with that acquisition now that the Rams are going to pass the Cardinals in standings?
Well, I think the Rams were always going to be in it to the end of the season. I don't think this move differentiates them from the Cardinals in any stretch. I think this is a move in the divisional round, in the NFC title game, whoever they're playing, if they get that far, where you need a guy to get you 10 to 15 snaps defensively and to get you key pressures in those situations. Von Miller's not healthy right now. He's not going to play, I think, this week. This is a move with their eyes set on January football. That doesn't affect the Cardinals unless they play them. Cardinals are going to have to go beat for beat with them anyway. They've already beaten them once, and they beat them handedly. And I like Von Miller as a player, but again, we pivoted off Patrick Peterson quickly this offseason. They were in the same draft class.
Yeah.
He's old. He's almost broken. I thought the Denver Broncos, and I told you this, I thought they made out really well in that trade. You're getting ammunition now to go up and get a quarterback next year. He's a free agent. To me, this is not on par with their Stafford acquisition, with their Jalen Ramsey acquisition. Players in their prime, ready to contribute on multiple years. I think this was a little bit of an overpay for Denver, especially when you look at Arizona getting Zach Ertz for 30 cents on the dollar, and he's going to be a focal point of their offense. He's going to play 90% of the snaps. Von's not going to do that.
Doesn't sound like you're too worried.
No, I don't care about
Love that. Well, Johnny mentioned it already. He's a betting man, and so am I. I'm actually a betting woman. I'm not a betting man.
Thanks for clarifying.
I just feel like I had to, just throw
betting
that out there.
person.
I do all my betting on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. And NFL fans, if you're hungry for a big win this week, DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL, has got you covered. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game. And if they do, you'll win $200 in free bets. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. It's really that simple. DraftKings Sportsbook customers can also get skin in the game with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets from the same game for a bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want, which is one of my favorite parts of the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Make sure you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PHNX. Bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game. And if they do, you'll win $200 in free bets. You win with promo code PHNX this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL. 21 and up only, Arizona only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. All right, how about we get into our main topic of the day? I'm excited for this one. This one's going to be fun.
Were you not excited for the other ones?
No, she wasn't into the first segment.
The other ones.
I will admit, I do say every week that I'm the most excited for this week's, but it's fine. All right, today's topic, we are going to be changing the names of Arizona sports teams. If we were the owners, we get to pick what we would do, what we would name them if we were in charge. And a little history lesson, the reason why we're talking about this is because yesterday, November 2nd, on that day in 1995, the Arizona Diamondbacks officially unveiled their uniforms, and they used Phoenix Suns players to do it, which I think is pretty cool. They had those guys out there in their sweet purple and teal uniforms, which they should have never changed, but that is another conversation for another time. So in honor of the Arizona Diamondbacks officially unveiling their uniforms this week in 1995, we are talking about what we would do with the names of the teams in Arizona. I'm excited to hear. Full disclosure, I have no idea what you guys are going to say or where you're going to go. Espo, do you want to start us off?
Start? Okay. Well, the backstory on the Suns' name, 1960, I think it's 67, they get awarded, or early 68, they get awarded the franchise. The Arizona Republic and the Suns decide they're going to hold a contest to name the team. Part of the deal is if you submit a name, you get a ticket to a future game. 28,000 potential names were submitted.
That's
right?
a lot.
Yeah, a lot, especially when you consider the size of Phoenix back in 1968. It's not the metropolis we know now. It was a much smaller community. So 28,000 names were submitted. The winner would get season tickets and $1,000, which back then $1,000, a lot of money. So apparently 300 people submitted Suns in it, and literally Jerry Colangelo had to pick a name out of the hat because that was the name they decided they liked out of the 28,000, and then they had to pick a name out of the hat from those 300 that won. And a woman named Celinda King, who was an employee of the state's health department, won.
Shout out Celinda.
Yeah, so there's a famous photo of I believe it was Johnny Red Kerr, the original coach, Jerry Colangelo, and this woman. And I never realized they're holding this giant cardboard thing that has a logo that never actually became the Suns logo. And the logo always fascinated me, but I never realized there's this little woman standing in the right corner of that photo who apparently was Celinda King, the woman who got credit for naming the team. So that's kind of the history behind it. There was apparently saguaros, scorpions, tumbleweeds that were all submitted. None really strike me as, a team. I actually saw a typewriter list when I was working for the team that had a bunch of the submissions. There's like Sun Jets, which I don't know what a Sun Jet is, but
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like you'd wind up in a battle with the Sharks at some point if you're a Sun Jet. That's a really bad musical reference that nobody probably gets, but
Nope.
you know,
Right over my head.
Sharks and Jets. No, okay.
Oh yeah.
West Side Story.
Yeah,
Thank you. All
gotcha.
right.
Nope.
I
Still
I was
no.
there with you, buddy.
Still
I
no.
can always trust that Craig knows where I'm at. So yeah, I struggle with this because this name is synonymous with the Valley, is synonymous with sports here. The colors, I'll say this, the colors are perfect.
I love
There
the
is not a
colors.
damn thing. I'd take out the heavy use of black that's happened in the last 15 years
Agreed.
with the team, but purple and orange is the perfect palette for.
Did you
for
like
Team
the
America.
electric orange uniforms when they had them?
No.
You didn't. See, I
No.
loved them. I loved them.
Wait, which one? The ones, the current orange ones,
No.
or
Previous, like when
Na-
Sean Marion was here.
the Nash one? No, they look like Home Depot smocks. Like you could wear that in Home Depot, and somebody go, "Hey, can you help me get lumber?" No, I was not a fan. That and the airport code on the front, the PHNX, or PHX in that case on the uniform. I added our own N in there, but on that uniform in gray never worked for me.
Do you like the nickname Suns? Do you think it works?
That's what I struggle with.
Me too.
It's a really lame nickname because when
is.
you compare like when you're going, and if you know the old joke is, you know, if somebody that doesn't know sports is picking games, they're picking between the mascots.
Mm.
Nobody's picking a sun, and I get it. The sun's the most powerful thing. It creates things that grow, but like you're not gonna fight a sun.
Right.
Like how is
I
that
might,
gonna
yeah.
happen?
If I want to
Yeah.
avoid it, I'll just step into the shade.
Yeah,
So I
exactly.
just say, you know,
You fight it by not putting on sunscreen.
Yeah,
You lose.
look, I put on sunglasses. I've defeated you. You know, like that was always my problem with the name.
I also, full disclosure, I hated the gorilla. Like, how do you have the sun and then go with the
There's
gorilla?
a story
Like,
of that
Yes,
in the
there is.
early 80s. A singing telegram was sent to somebody courtside, which is part of the story is still insane to me. You're at a basketball game and somebody sends you a singing telegram, right? It's bizarre, but the guy came dressed as a gorilla and he hammed it up on the sidelines. The crowd loved it, so they kept inviting him back. That's how they wound up with a gorilla as their mascot.
interesting.
Why do I
Okay.
feel like the professor of Arizona sports history?
'Cause
That's
you
because
are.
that's what you
When
are.
I come on this show.
That's your new
Oh, the
nickname,
professor.
the professor.
Nerd.
Oh, I love that. I still hate the gorilla, but I love the professor.
So I struggle with it. But the thing is, I don't know that there's anything better because it's just become so synonymous with
it
basketball.
is hard. It's so
here.
old now.
And the
it's-
logo's so cool. Like
Yeah.
the logo fits so like it's such the burst, and even the original one is such a cool way to encapsulate the orange basketball with the orange sun. And I'm like, okay, so I don't think I would change the Suns. Is where I come down to.
That's lame.
If I were going to, I
It's
just
like the
like,
peanut gallery.
you guys, you suck. How dare you not want to besmirch a team that's been here for 50
Espo, why don't you and I
plus
just
years?
talk about West Side
not
Story for a
changing
little
the
while
name
now?
is not an option.
It's not-
You have to tell me what you would change it to.
If you had to change it,
If I had to change it, it's tough, but I would have gone with something like the Wranglers. I would have just played into the Western theme because in 1968, that's all anybody knew about. They thought it was
The Western
cactus,
town.
cowboy hats, and saloon doors
Yeah.
is what they thought of Phoenix. So if I was going to go away from what they did, I would have leaned into what everybody knew Phoenix as. And they eventually did with their uniforms. They had that really old school Western font.
Yeah.
I would have just played that up and gone Wranglers or Outlaws or something like that kind of fit the motif and the mindset of people at the time.
The Phoenix Wranglers is I love that.
yeah.
The-
I really, really like that.
The Arizona Wranglers wound up being the USFL team in the mid '80s, but I think it would have worked well as an NBA team too.
I just have a problem with
Phoenix Wranglers.
mascots that are inanimate objects. I'm just,
Yeah,
I just don't
That's
get
tough.
it. You know,
Like the
Yeah.
Heat.
Yeah. There's another great and singular names too. By
Yes.
the way, I hate singular names. But like you hear things like saguaros. Well, let's go with saguaro. What's threatening about a saguaro? I mean, I have to actively
It hurts to
approach
touch.
that saguaro to get injured by it, right?
If
it
I
can't
walk in-
move.
Yeah, it's my
It's
own
not gonna
fault if
chase
that
me.
defeats me.
It's
Yeah.
like one step below like the zombies on Walking Dead. It's really easy to avoid them.
I mean,
They're moving at 1 mile an hour. What's the threat here?
I
mean,
don't like saguaros.
I
Yeah, I don't get it.
the only thing for the Suns is, when you say, well, I want to shoot that person into the sun, like that is a threat, but I don't think, there's nothing imposing about Suns. Yeah.
Yeah. That's where I am.
Yeah.
That's
It's
where
a
I
good
sit.
name for it makes sense. The Valley of the Sun, 365 days of sunshine or whatever it is. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But
If I were naming the team from a purpose to get people to come vacation here, great.
Yeah.
But from an intimidating sports team, it never had that gravitas, but it's also so entrenched in everything. It's hard to
Yeah.
imagine them having been named something different.
I think the Phoenix Wranglers is a great name, though. I actually really like that. I'm kind of sad now that they're not the Phoenix Wranglers. All right, Craig. The Arizona Coyotes moved here from Winnipeg. How do you feel about Coyotes? What were the other options? And what would you pick for the team if it weren't?
Well,
the
first of all, I'm glad they
Coyotes?
changed from Jets because that wouldn't have made
Yes.
any sense. I'm not sure it makes sense in Winnipeg either, to be
nope.
honest. I don't get it.
that.
I don't know, in a Tempe arena with the FAA stuff, it might make
Well,
sense
there
with
you
Jets,
go. That's, yeah. We can talk about that red herring of an issue. They had like the Suns, they had a name the team contest, and of course Coyotes won. A lot of people were pushing for Roadrunners, and there's a historical element to that. Obviously, the Roadrunners played here in a couple different leagues. They were in the WHA way back when. They were in the IHL, and there's some really great stories. In fact, I came to a Roadrunners game when I was a kid and watched Robbie Fatorik play at the old Coliseum. There's a lot of history with the Roadrunners there. I thought it would have been cool if they had chosen that. Eventually, the Coyotes got around to naming their AHL team down in Tucson the Roadrunners, so at least they kept the nickname. That's where I would go if I were to change it, but I have to be honest, I like the Coyotes nickname. It fits. It says Arizona. The Kachina logo is unbelievable. I do think it's one of the best in pro sports, so I'm actually a big fan of the nickname that they chose, and that was the one that won. They did have a few others in the running. Roadrunners finished third. What came in second was Scorpions, which is another nickname that I'd love to hear because I think teams tend to go too conservative with their nicknames across the board, college, pro, whatever. They just don't take chances like the Seattle Kraken did, which that was way outside the box. Yeah. And then in fourth place was the Wranglers, actually. So that was also in the running for the hockey team here.
I would have, I would have loved for them to go with the Roadrunners and do what they did in Tucson with actually going with a Kachina logo and reimagining that. That would have been a lot of fun. I like what the indoor lacrosse team did with the Scorpion logo, but Sting is the name. That could have been a cool way to go about it. But I think in the end, the Coyotes does really fit.
The Coyote's not very intimidating, though. It's like a small desert dog.
Have you ever seen a coyote? Like what the damage it can do?
Pack of them?
It's a little scary. It's like I live out in the Far East Valley. A lot of them roam our neighborhood.
Yeah,
They're
they
not
do look
as
a little rabid, a little scraggly, a little scary. Like I wouldn't want to get bit by one, but like also like I'm much more scared of
a
bear.
penguin.
Yeah.
A flyer, like a
okay, no.
The whole idea of a
ranger,
too, right? It works on so many levels. I really believe you need to choose something that says Arizona if you're going to have a team here. And we'll get to the Cardinals in a minute, and there are good reasons for them to keep their name, but there are so many possibilities that say Arizona that teams could have chosen. You could have gone with Gila Monsters if you want to be really outside the box, right? You don't like Gila Monsters?
No.
They're bad
What
news.
is that?
Oh, it's a giant lizard.
Yeah.
They're like
once it latches onto you,
yeah.
you like some sort of vice to take it off or some major tool to get its jaws unlocked from you. They're I've seen one on a golf course and they're scary. They're scary. We just skipped the green because it was just basking in the sun.
They're
on
like
the
the
green.
alligators of the desert.
Yeah, basically.
If you had to pick if you had to change the name,
I'd go to Roadrunners.
Roadrunners.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. I like it. Does that mean the Roadrunners in Tucson have to rebrand?
Probably.
Just trade them.
Just swap them?
Tucson
Buy 'em out.
Coyotes.
Yeah, there you go.
The Tucson Coyotes.
What about
And-
tarantulas and javelinas too, though? You like those?
You're taking all my names.
I'm
I'm
sorry,
sorry,
man.
man.
I'll stop talking.
Like deep
I'll
cuts
stop
here.
talking.
I don't
I'll
like
stop talking.
tarantulas.
Just because you don't like spiders?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It all depends on
it's
the
too
logo
wordy.
too.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
like you can go one way, and if the name's cool but the logo's cheesy, it ruins it too. So
you wouldn't have the big Disney eyes on a tarantula. No.
No.
the
It's a
old
friendly
ducks.
tarantula.
Yeah,
Like-
look at that.
I look at a team like the Oregon Ducks. Like nobody's intimidated by a duck, but their color scheme, the big O, the different uniforms.
I like the uniforms with the wings.
You
on
can
them.
Yeah.
own that approach. It doesn't matter what your mascot is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you own it and you become a cool look, but they still got Donald Duck roaming the sidelines.
true.
There's nothing intimidating about that. So
Puddles is really cute though.
Yes.
I love
He's
Puddles.
great.
it's Donald Duck. Don't call him Puddles. Like, how did Disney not sue the crap out of Oregon?
They
for
don't
that?
all
They are very
Yeah,
similar.
They
don't own
look like they could basically switch spots. Nobody know the
I
difference.
think Phil Knight paid him off.
That
He-
may be
he
that,
paid
yeah,
off Walt
maybe.
Disney.
That's true. Nike can pull that
That's
off.
true.
So.
Craig, are you keeping it Arizona? Would you do Arizona Roadrunners or Phoenix Roadrunners?
I want it to be Phoenix. I like the
Phoenix
city name in front
Roadrunners?
of it. I'm not a big fan of state names in front.
Okay. Are you Phoenix Wranglers for the Phoenix Suns too?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
not
wouldn't.
Arizona
I wouldn't
Wranglers.
change. I wouldn't
Yeah.
change to Arizona. I mean, that's one of the unique things. The Suns have been such a big part of
Mhm.
the Phoenix community for so long. Even when there was talks that they might look outside of downtown, it was like, don't change it to Arizona. That just doesn't feel right. And I feel the Coyotes are a very similar way. I feel Phoenix always felt right with that when you heard it.
Yeah.
I still struggle with Arizona when I hear it. So.
Yeah. All right. So we have the Phoenix Wranglers from the Phoenix Suns, Phoenix Roadrunners from the Arizona Coyotes. Johnny, what would you do
Oh
with
man.
the good old Arizona
So
Cardinals?
this is difficult for me because my father has been a lifelong Cardinal fan, and it was inherited to me. And we're from the Midwest, as are the Cardinals. So they started in Chicago, and you guys can keep me honest here if I have a hiccup. But I believe they have the red because they wanted to mirror the University of Loyola, just like the
Mhm.
Illini and the Chicago Bears. So they shared a team with Chicago and eventually pivoted, and they became the Cardinals in part because that's the state bird in Illinois.
Mhm.
And then they moved to St. Louis, where they shared Busch Stadium, I think Busch Stadium 2, with the baseball Cardinals, which is all kinds of confusing. They actually used to hold, fun fact, their training camp in my hometown of Normal, Illinois, and play at Redbird, where the Redbirds are. So you'd be able to drive past I can't remember what the stadium is in Normal, Illinois, but you'd see a team with a Cardinal on their helmet, be like, oh, there's the Redbirds. They're getting ready for spring football. Nope, it's actually the Arizona Cardinals, that being the St. Louis Cardinals, getting ready for the season. So they have never had a permanent home up until this point. I like the idea of, and by the way, they came here, of course, in 88, had the name Phoenix Cardinals from 88 to 98, and then changed to Arizona.
95.
95.
Yeah.
Then changed to Arizona. I read from they wanted a state appeal,
Yeah.
not just to be inundated with just Phoenix, which I think is also a mistake. I would definitely keep the Phoenix portion of it.
Even though they play in Glendale?
Well, they played in Tempe when they
Yeah.
had Phoenix as their
Never
name.
played in
Sun Devil
Phoenix.
Stadium.
No, never.
Yeah, that's nitpicking at this point. I think that the Cardinals a great look. It just doesn't. There are no Cardinals here. It just doesn't fit with desert mentality, desert climate. I love the white helmets and the color scheme. The current uniforms, we know this, they're terrible. They're
Garbage.
awful.
They're
I
just-
do believe that they'll have new uniforms next season. I think Michael Bidwell is in tune with the fan base now and the players. When you have Kyler Murray and company ripping the uniforms, as long as they keep the white helmets, I'll be satisfied. I actually kind of like the logo too, but if I were to change the name, like Craig gave out a bunch of good examples, I think you have to change it to a moniker that's associated with the desert. You guys know what the Arizona state bird is by chance?
Cactus Wren.
Yeah, I would probably change
How
it.
would you know that?
I would, because they know everything. I would probably change it to the Phoenix Cactus Wren and just have it be consistent with the bird, because this team is synonymous with the bird. Go away from the Cardinals, take on the Cactus Wren moniker.
You wouldn't want to go the Roadrunner angle?
I
Just hijack the
yeah,
hockey team?
Yeah, they have to be able to fly. And and high flying offenses historically in Arizona, Kurt Warner, Carson Palmer, now Kyler Murray. Even though Kyler Murray's game kind of simulates a Roadrunner a little bit, but those would probably be my top two, honestly.
I love that you say historically, and then you give me the last 12 years,
Well-
and you forget the 80s and 90s
We-
where
we
we
blocked
didn't
those
see
out.
any quarterback play in Phoenix. So
We could name a bunch of them.
we could.
I feel
uh,
like Cactus
Stony
Red might be a hard
Case,
sell, though.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think it's like a mouthful.
I'm just trying to stay consistent with their current mascot and have it be a
Hmm.
seamless transition. It's not as visually pleased. Like the Cardinals, a good looking mascot, I think.
Yeah.
I think their logo is strong. The cactus wren is like kind of an ugly bird, and it's got muted colors. So, I mean, I don't really have a great answer other than I would go back to Phoenix Cardinals if you were keeping the Cardinals. And you have to keep the white helmets, but you got the current uniforms.
Why keep the white helmets?
That's
Just his history?
Yeah, I think white on anything looks good. Like the Chargers helmet with the single lightning bolt. That's a personal preference, though.
Well, and I don't think the Bidwells will ever go away from it because it is a very since it is a family-run business, that white helmet is something that's always, it's white helmet, gray face mask. I think that's always going to be part of it, but
and that's the argument for keeping the Cardinals too. There's so much history behind this franchise. You get it. And knowing Mr. B as well and how much he was steeped in tradition and probably didn't care too much about branding and marketing when he arrived here, right? You get why they kept the Cardinal. I get the argument for it. But to me, it's one of those nicknames that when you move, you should have changed because it just doesn't fit Arizona, like we've talked about with the Utah Jazz. It doesn't make sense, or the LA Lakers. Those nicknames just don't make sense where they are now.
Well, and we were talking about this too before. Outside of, I think, New York, the New York Giants and the New York Jets and New England, there isn't another team that's not after the city. Like Arizona's the state, but I can't think of another football team that.
And New York they don't even play in New York.
Yeah,
they play in New Jersey.
It doesn't make any sense.
And the Jets, not to get on a tent, the Jets had a better name than the Jets. They were originally the Titans of New York. Right. How do you change your name from the Titans of New York to the Jets? Anyways, sorry.
Yeah, so I also am on the same page that it should be at the very least the Phoenix Cardinals. I think it's weird that it's Arizona. I never understood the reason to, I guess, wanting to be more inclusive is
that's what I did try to do some research. You guys keep me honest here. That's the only thing that I could find.
It was a marketing thing.
The Coyotes said the same thing when they changed Arizona. I think I suspect it was also a slight to Glendale.
One thing I wish the Cardinals would do. Have you ever seen the logo, which is the full body Cardinal?
No.
From the Chicago, I believe
like
it was
all
the
jacked
Chicago.
up?
Maybe in St. Louis. It may be it under the arch. And it's a human buff body with a Cardinal's head on it. And I'm like, okay, it's hilarious.
I don't like that. That's scary. I'd have like nightmares about it.
That's what I like about it.
Cardinal man, and that's their mascot too.
It's like intimidating.
All right, well, we can't leave out the Diamondbacks. I did a little bit of research on the Diamondbacks. So in 1995, Jerry Colangelo also was the owner at that time. He took out a full-page ad in the Arizona Republic. Same type of deal. He wanted a naming contest, wanted to include the people of Arizona in the naming of the new baseball team. And if they won, they would get full lifetime season tickets to the Diamondbacks. The other options that people came up with besides Diamondbacks were Phoenix, like a Phoenix Firebird thing.
Yeah.
Okay. The Coyotes as well. The Rattlers and the Scorpions. I hate the Phoenix. What are you going to do? The Arizona Phoenix?
Phoenix.
The Phoenix.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. Why would you go?
And singular,
why would you call them the Phoenix?
all kinds of.
I like the Phoenix as a mascot.
Yeah.
It's a cool, which obviously, the Rising now has kind of figured out a way to incorporate it into their team without calling themselves
or the old Firebirds,
Phoenix.
right?
Well, yeah, the Firebirds, the original, not the original, the Phoenix Giants were the original, but in the 80s and 90s, the Phoenix Firebirds were the minor league AAA team, and I loved that branding.
Yep.
Blue, red, and yellow, really cool Firebird logo like that. That was cool.
Yeah, definitely cool. And so the story goes, apparently the Scorpion actually won, but Jerry Colangelo vetoed it because he's scared of scorpions and did not want, he said, I think the exact quote was, "They give me the willies." So he didn't want to name the baseball team the Scorpion because he doesn't like scorpions, and thus the Diamondbacks were born. I personally don't like the Diamondback name. I think it's too long. It's a mouthful. I hate how they shorten it to D-backs. It sounds like D-bags, which is not great.
Never thought of that before, but now I'll never get it out of my head.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're just going to be thinking that now.
Yeah, any time that your team name can be shortened to something that a New York cabbie yells at somebody that cuts them off, "Hey, D-backs!"
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want that,
No.
like you don't want it to sound like that.
I also hate that their mascot is a bobcat. Obviously, I understand why with Bank One Ballpark, Bobcat. I get that.
But that's all gone now. Yeah.
But it's all gone, and it's weird now that you have the Diamondbacks and your mascot's Bobcat. I don't like that either. So I honestly, I like the name Scorpions. I would have gone with the Arizona Scorpions as the name for the baseball team. And especially now, considering that I've seen the branding for the Cleveland Spiders, they were going to change the name for the Cleveland baseball team to the Cleveland Spiders. And the concepts that they came up with that was so cool. And I'm so mad that they picked Guardians, because I think the Cleveland Spiders would have been the best choice for the new name. So looking at what they did with Spiders, if the Scorpions look anything like that, I think it would have been awesome.
Arizona needs a team named the Scorpions. It does. Phoenix needs it.
Imagine what you could have done with like the bat as the logo and the tail like of the scorpion. Like, yeah, there's a lot you could have played with. Fun fact, they were close to picking Rattlers. They were going to take the entire color scheme and everything from the Arizona Rattlers, the indoor football team, and they actually had mocked up and test uniforms and hats done like that. So that was very close to coming to fruition before Diamondbacks took the lead.
Gotcha. Well, I did not know that. I'm just bummed that they didn't go with Scorpions. Jay Colangelo, if you're listening to this, which I know you're not, I'm sad.
Missed opportunity.
Missed opportunity. All right. Well, that's what do you guys have any other suggestions for Diamondbacks before we?
I would have gone Firebirds, but that's just because I love that logo.
And I love the tie to history, just like the Roadrunners.
Yeah. Arizona Firebirds or Phoenix Firebirds?
And then
Phoenix
Firebirds. And then you use the Phoenix as your mascot. It works perfectly.
Yeah, that actually would have been really cool. I like that too. Phoenixes are my favorite mythological creature. Fun
there you
fact.
go.
All right, so those are our nominations for what we would change our team names to, but we want to know what you would change the names to. We are going to put our nominations on Twitter in a poll. You can vote on ours, and you can also give us your recommendations if you think that you have a better name than what we came up with. Last week, our topic was the best nickname in Arizona sports history. And with 57% of the vote, the Big Unit won. Blew everybody out of the water. It wasn't even close. So congrats to the Big Unit.
Why are you shaking your head? You don't like that pick?
Well, I was on the show, so I lost is what I'm shaking my head about.
Yes, Espo nominated Sir Charles for the Suns.
I'm selfish. I just want to win. So...
So congrats to the Big Unit. You guys won. I think that was the rightful pick.
I think that's the right choice,
too.
I
don't know.
Can I throw one more nickname out there?
Yeah, absolutely.
For the Mercury?
Yeah.
Should have gone with Black Widows.
Ooh,
nothing says power play quite like eating your mate right after sex.
That would have been pretty great. That would have been epic.
We're clipping that, and I'm using that on numerous shows from now on, Craig. Thank you.
Are you guys betting on anything this weekend? You guys have any bets in right now on DraftKings Sportsbook?
I've got a couple college lines that I like. I like the Arizona State Sun Devils to cover this weekend against USC.
That is bold.
I like Washington to cover +7 against the now suddenly fourth ranked Oregon Ducks.
Okay.
And then I also like, what was my last pick? Well, I think Cincinnati's going to cover, I believe, against Tulane this weekend because they're extra pissy. They got left out of the college football Final Four.
Yeah. Gotta love. Yes, Johnny, the bets guy, and he gave you like 16 of them. I'm gonna take the Coyotes puck line and money line against the Kraken.
I love that.
See, that was gonna be mine. So I guess I just say ditto now. They're
gonna
get their first win.
You download
They're
the
gonna get their
DraftKings
first win on
Sportsbook
Saturday.
app. Use code PHNX when you sign up. If you place $5 on an NFL team to win, and they do, you'll get $200 in free bets. If you haven't checked out our PHNX Bets show with Johnny yet, you absolutely need to do that. Johnny and Shane get you up to date with all of the best lines and spreads and picks in sports. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you follow us on social at PHNX_sports, where you'll find our poll from this week's show so you can vote and nominate your own team names. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.